Welcome to Cincinnati Reds game scored number 27 for the 1983 season. This is DVP reporting on Sunday, August the 7th. This afternoon, the Reds will close out a four-game series against Dick Williams' San Diego Padres at Jack Murphy Stadium out in San Diego, and this will conclude an 11-game three-city road trip for Russ Nixon's Reds. It's an off day tomorrow for Cincinnati, and then it's back to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati to start up a 9-game homestand on Tuesday night with the first of a series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. My last game scored was 1 week ago today on Sunday, July the 31st, the Reds losing 9-2 to the Houston Astros in the final of a series at the Astrodome. The Astros won 2 out of 3 in that series, and that was the first leg of this 11-game road trip for the Reds. And the Reds have played 7 games since my last one scored, winning 3 and losing 4, and I'll have a brief rundown of these last 7 ball games during this last week here in my Reds recap portion of this particular broadcast. Let's go back now to Monday night, August the 1st, as the Reds start off the new month on the right foot, a victory over the Los Angeles Dodgers, a 10-inning win. The Reds went 2-2 in that 4-game series, the middle series of 3 on this road trip. The Reds are now a very respectable 5-6 against that second-place Dodger team. And, well, the Reds have played the Dodgers very tough this season. Both of the wins in that series for the Reds were in extra innings, and so we split in that 4-game set. The Reds winning at 4-2 with 2 in the top of the 10th inning on August the 1st, a game-winning base hit for Danny Dreesen. He gets his 5th game-winning RBI of the year. There was a later base hit by Nick Asaski to knock in his 23rd run of the season. Davey Concepcion and Ron Oster had the other Reds runs batted in. Oster had a big home run, his 7th of the year and his first homers since the 25th of June at home against Atlanta Braves left-hander Pete Falcone. Ben Hayes gets credit for the 10-inning victory as he goes to 2-2 and 1-1 against the Dodgers. 2 innings, 2 hits, and he struck out a batter. Good job for Ben Hayes in relief of Ted Power, who went 2 innings of 1 hit, no run ball, walked a batter, struck out 1. Charlie Puleo started for the Reds, did a pretty good job. Gave up 7 hits and 2 runs in 6 innings, he walked a couple, and he struck out 6 batters. And he gave up a home run to Rick Monday, his 6th of the season. And the losing pitcher for the Dodgers was Bobby Welch, who went 9+ innings, gave up a walk as the only batter he faced in the 10th inning. That turned out to cost him because that man came around to score on the base hit by Dreesen, so Welch has now lost 11 of 19 decisions. He went 9+, gave up 8 hits and 3 runs, struck out 8 batters, walked 5, hit a batter, Dan Bilardello, and delivered a wild pitch. Not a bad line for Welch, but he loses. Tom Niedenfuer came on 1/3 of a frame, walked a batter, gave up a run, no hits. And Steve Howe, 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits and a strikeout. There was a crowd of 37,937 paid for that ball game. A 3-hour, 5-minute, 10-inning, 4-2 Reds win. Total attendance, 41,454. The Reds had 4 runs, 10 hits, no errors, and stranded 9. The Dodgers went 2-10-0-6. The next day, it was a Los Angeles victory to even up the series as Alejandro Pena fired a 4-hitter at Cincinnati. The Dodgers went on to win 3-1, a game-winning RBI for Mike Marshall. That would be his 6th game-winning RBI of the season. There weren't any home runs in that ballgame. Cedeno knocked in the only Reds run, and that came in the top of the 4th inning to give us a brief lead, but the Dodgers came back with 3 in their half of the 4th inning, and that was the entire scoring. A good pitcher's battle between Pastore and Pena. Frank Pastore loses it. He goes to 4-10, but he pitched good ball for 7 innings, allowed 6 hits and 3 runs, all earned. He delivered a wild pitch, walked only 1, and struck out 5, and then Ted Power for an inning and a hit. Alejandro Pena, the winner. He's 9-5 with a complete game, a run, 4 hits, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. Excellent line for Alejandro. The Dodgers had 3 runs, 7 hits without an error, and they left 4. The Reds had a run, 4 hits, no errors, and stranded 3. A 2-hour, 12-minute game, and they had 36,132 paid at Los Angeles. And that evened up the set, and that was on Tuesday night, August the 2nd, and then on Wednesday evening, another 10:35 ball game, August the 3rd, 10:35 Cincinnati time. That'd be 7:35 out there in Los Angeles. The Dodgers went ahead in the series with a 7-4 victory behind the 3rd win of the year for the former Red, Pat Zachary. He came on in relief to get credit for the victory, as the Dodgers get 12 base hits and beating Rich Gale, who was an unexpected Cincinnati starter. Gale only went 1 inning for the Reds. He was in there because Joe Price is having problems with his left shoulder, and he was forced out. Gale loses for the 5th straight time he hasn't won a ball game since the final day of April. He's now 3-5 on the year, going 1 inning. He allowed 5 hits and 5 runs, all earned. He walked a batter, and he struck out 2 batters. Ted Power came on for 4 innings, 4 hits, a run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Tom Hume, 2 innings, 2 hits, and a walk. Billy Shearer, a third of an inning, a run, no hits, 2 walks. Ben Hayes, 2/3 and a hit. So a 5-pitcher night for Cincinnati. The Dodgers used 4 pitchers themselves. Dave Stewart got the start, and he wasn't supposed to start. They had to scratch lefty Jerry Royce because of an arm injury. 2 2/3 innings for Stewart. Actually, I'm not sure if that was an arm injury for Jerry Royce or not. He was out because of some type of an injury, but I think it might have been because he was hit by a thrown baseball in an earlier series against the Giants, if I recollect correctly. But anyway, Stewart was in there for his first start of the year, and he's always pitched the Reds tough. But the Reds got to him for 6 hits and 3 runs in just under 3 innings. He walked a batter, struck out 3, so he was knocked out early. And Joe Beckwith came on for 1 1/3, allowed 2 hits, a run, struck out a batter, walked 2, and then Pat Zachary for the victory. 3 innings of 2-hit, no-run ball, struck out 3, and only walked 1. He's now 3-0 with the Dodgers. His new team this year. He was with the New York Mets last season and spent several years with the Mets, of course, after leaving Cincinnati in 1977. Tom Niedenfuer came on, and he got a save, his 5th of the year, 2 innings and 2 strikeouts. Home runs, Cesar Cedeno had one for the Reds, his 7th of the season. And Mike Marshall hit a pair of home runs for Los Angeles. He had a big day, 3 for 3 and 3 RBIs. He does not get the game-winning RBI, though. Dusty Baker got it, his 7th of the year. And Mike Marshall, 2 home runs, his 10th and his 11th of the season. He's hit 3 against the Reds now this season. That game took 3 hours, 8 minutes to play. They had a crowd of 43,438 total. 37,670 paid their way through the gates at Los Angeles. The Dodgers had 7 runs, 12 hits with an error. The Reds had 4, 10 and 1. Reds left 10 on. Dodgers stranded 8. RBIs, Walker, Cedeno, 2, and Reedus for the Cincinnati Reds. Dwayne Walker, another pinch hit, as he got, a pinch double in that game and knocked in a run. And that's his 9th pinch hit of the year to lead the ball club. And the Reds evened up the series as they left town after the ball game of Thursday night, August the 4th. Another extra inning victory as the Reds win for the 18th time in a 1-run game, a 4-3 final in 11 innings. On August the 4th, Ben Hayes again coming up with a victory, 2-0 in that series for Ben, so he's now 2-1 with a save against the Dodgers this season. Cincinnati had 4 runs, 9 hits with an error, and left 11. The Dodgers had 3 runs, 8 hits, 2 errors, and stranded 9 men on base. Tom Niedenfuer took the loss for the Dodgers in relief. That's his first loss of the year. He's 5-1 now. 2 innings, 2 hits, and a run. He struck out 2 and walked a batter in relief of Steve Howe, who worked 2 innings. Allowed no hits, walked a batter, struck out 3. Bert Hooton, the Dodgers starter, 7 innings, 7 hits, and 3 runs, struck out 5 and walked 4 batters. For Cincinnati, Hayes was in relief of Billy Shearer, who took over for Tom Hume, and the starter was Mario Soto. Only Soto's 2nd no decision of the season. His first came at New York back in early May in a ball game that went, I believe, 12 or 13 innings, and he struck out 12 in that game, Mario did. By the way, that is tied for the most strikeouts by any one pitcher in one game this season. I think Carlton's done it a couple of times. Soto went 8 innings, gave up 6 hits and 3 runs, walked 3, struck out 7. Tommy Hume 1 1/3, 2 hits, 2 walks, a K. Billy Shearer struck out the only batter he faced, and then Ben Hayes for 1 1/3 with a strikeout to get the victory and go over 500. 42,907 on hand to see the wrap-up to that 4-game set, a 3-hour, 36-minute 11-inning contest, and the paid attendance was 41,614. That was nationally televised on the USA Cable Network. Nationally televised, that is, if you subscribe to pay TV. That's on USA Pay Cable, and Wes Parker broadcasting that along with Monty Moore, and that's the first time we've seen the Reds on the USA Thursday night game of this season. And it's a good showing as Cincinnati wins it on a game-winning home run in the top of the 11th inning by Ronnie Oster. That's Oster's 2nd home run in the last, 4 games. His 8th of the season. Danny Dreesen had an earlier home run for the Reds, his 11th of the year. And there was also a homer for the Dodgers, Greg Brock, his 13th of the season, only his 2nd homer since the 4th of June. And Oster gets his 3rd game-winning RBI of the season. Dreesen had an RBI, his 41st. Alex Trevino had a couple of runs batted in. They were gifts, though. what looked to be two double play grounders. One of them, second baseman could not get the ball to second in time. They could not get the double play, settled for a force, a run scored. And on the first one, he hit a sharp ground ball towards second base, and it bounced over the head of David Anderson. Or it might have been, Billy Russell. It was Billy Russell playing shortstop. It bounced over his head, hit a rock or something, and he got an RBI on that ball. So he gets his 8th and 9th RBIs of the year, Trevino. Those are his first runs batted in, can you believe, in about 3 months. He had his last RBI on the 6th of May at Shea Stadium, and that was his 3rd or 4th in the last 3 games. Had none since then, up until 2 on August the 4th at L.A. So good game for Cincinnati to split the series at 2-2. As Oster was the hero with an opposite field home run. He's shown great power the other way to left center when he's been batting left-handed, and he was hitting left-handed off of Tom Niedenfuhr, who took the loss. And again, he's 5-1 now on the season. Excellent stats for those Dodger pitchers, an ERA which is just barely over 3, by far the best in the major leagues for a staff ERA. Now let's see, that brings us up to the August 5th contest. That's Friday night, August 5th, at San Diego, first of 4 against the Padres. And the last leg on the road trip, and the Reds come up with another 4-3 victory. Their second straight one-run win. The Reds now 19 wins in one-run ball games. The Reds are second, or I think third, in the league in one-run games. That is the third best one-run record, and I think the second most wins next to the Dodgers 20, and the Reds now 19 in that category. The Reds 4 runs, 10 hits, no errors last night at San Diego. They stranded 8. The Padres had 3 runs, 9 hits with 2 errors, and they left 8. I shouldn't say last night, a couple nights ago. On Friday, August 5th, Ted Power got the victory, his 4th consecutive winning decision to go to 5-4 on the year. That was in relief of Bruce Bereni, who went 5 innings in starting, allowed 6 hits, 3 runs, a walk, and 4 strikeouts, and he hit a batter, Luis Salazar. Not bad for Bereni. Was taken out in favor of Power, 1 1/3 innings, 3 hits, nothing else, and then Billy Shearer came on, and he retired 8 straight batters, struck out 1 to get his 8th save. That stops on the team by 2. Elias Sosa took the loss, although he gave up 1 unearned run in 3 innings. Actually a good job. A critical error was committed, 1 of 2 in that game by Luis Salazar, the third baseman. So the winning run was unearned and came in on a Cesar Cedeno 2-out base hit in the top of the 7th inning. Cedeno getting his 4th game-winning RBI of the year. Ronnie Oster, 2 more RBIs in that game. He's been knocking in a lot of runs. Nick Asaski had an RBI, the first one for the Reds in that game. So Sosa now 1-2 with the loss. 3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, none earned, no walks, and he struck out 4. Luis De Leon won an inning, and Mark Thurman, the rookie left-hander, was the starting pitcher. First time the Reds had ever faced him. A left-hander who hails from Houston, Texas. He went 5 innings, and 5 innings plus. He gave up 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned. He walked 2, struck out 3 batters. The time was 2 hours and 45 minutes. Paid attendance, 11,319 at San Diego. Total crowd, 14,171. Reds win 4-3 over the Padres. A come-from-behind victory. The Reds, in fact, came all the way back. The Pods got 3 in the second inning and were shut out the rest of the way by Bereni, Power, and Shearer. The Reds getting a run in the 4th and the 2 big runs. 1 to tie, 1 to win it. Or no, that just tied it, 2 in the 6th, and then the run that won it, driven in by Cedeno with 2 down in the top half of the 7th inning off of Elias Sosa. A run of the unearned variety. Ronnie Oster had a big 2-run pinch hit single, his first pinch hit in 3 trips this season, as he gets his 38th and 39th RBIs of the season. That brings us to last night's action, a twilight doubleheader at San Diego, and not good news to talk about. Cincinnati loses both ends of the twin bill. That's the final scheduled doubleheader for the Reds this season. The Padres have still 1 to play. And the Reds have not swept a doubleheader since August the 4th of 1980, so that's 3 years and 2 days. Before last night's doubleheader, the Reds were hoping to do it against the Padres again. Last time the Reds swept one was against those Padres at Riverfront Stadium 3 years ago. That was a makeup doubleheader. The Padres win it 11-4 in the first game and come back to sweep it 6-2 in the nightcap and push the Reds to 13 games under 500 as we enter this ball game today. The Reds will need to win to split this 4-game series. And the Reds should finish with a record of 0-2 plus 3 splits for 5 doubleheaders this year. In Game 1, last night. The Padres really blew it wide open. The score does not tell the full story. It was a close game up until the bottom of the 8th inning when the Pods exploded for 8 in the 8th inning. Biggest inning for the Pods this season. One of the biggest against the Reds this year. Actually, the second biggest. I think Philadelphia got 9 in one inning back in early May at Philadelphia against the Reds. So 8-run inning for San Diego. And several of those runs unearned. 4 of those unearned against Tommy Hume. There was a key error in that inning by Danny Dreesen. And so it was much closer through 6 innings. The Reds got 2 in the top of the 9th inning to make it a 7-run spread. The Padres had 11 runs, 14 hits with 1 error and stranded 9. The Reds had 4 runs, 8 hits with a couple of errors and left 9 men on. The starter for the Padres was the winner, right-hander Eric Schall. 8 innings of good ball, 5 hits, 2 runs, walked 5 but struck out 4. He's 11-7 now. Luis De Leon came on. He had a rough time closing the door. No save, of course. An inning, 3 hits, 2 runs. He struck out a batter. He also hit a batter, pinch hitter Paul Householder. The loser was Charlie Puleo for the Reds. He's now 4-7, although he didn't do that badly. 3 runs, 7 hits, and 6 1/3 innings. Walked 3, struck out 4. Billy Shear, 2/3 of an inning. 2 hits and 2 runs. And he struck out a batter. Then Tom Hume came on. Boy, he's having a rough season. This is probably his worst outing of the season. 2/3 of an inning. He gave up 5 hits and 6 runs, 2 of those earned. He walked 2, 1 intentional. Then Ben Hayes, 1/3 of an inning. Now, manager Nixon was not going to go to the mound to take out Hume. He was going to be out there come what may, so it appeared, but he just could not get that last out. So Hayes had to warm up and very quickly got his right arm loose, and he had to come in to nail it down and got the only batter that he faced. Hume just could not get the final out. And it's really a mystery as to why Hume is pitching that terribly this season. His ERA is now 6.28, and he's 1-4 with just 6 saves in 32 appearances now. The game time was 2 hours and 48 minutes for the first game of the doubleheader last night, and the attendance was 14,106 for the Twin Bill. And the Reds cannot even make it a split in the second game as the Padres win 6-2 with an 11-hit performance in the second game. So they had 17 runs and 25 hits against the Reds in the 18 innings, actually in just 16 innings for the home Padres in the doubleheader. The Reds had a home run in the 9th inning, a leadoff homer from Nick Osaski, his 8th of the season. Cesar Cedeno knocked in a couple more Reds runs. Danny Dreesen got his 42nd RBI of the year. And Gary Templeton gets the game-winning run batted in, his 3rd of the season. The big blow in the 8-run 8th was a grand slam home run hit off Tom Hume by leadoff Padres left fielder and newcomer Bobby Brown, his 3rd home run of the year. They've all been big ones. And he's now driven in 9 runs for those Padres since being called up just last week from AAA Las Vegas. The former Seattle Mariner and New York Yankee and Philadelphia Philly, Bobby Brown. Now with the Padres, he gets his 3rd home run of the year, also swiped a couple of bases. Was star of the doubleheader last night with Joe Nuxall. He's now got 5 steals. And Eddie Milner had a steal for the Reds, his 26th of the year. That's 2nd on the Reds team. So, a bad first game for the Reds. They were trying to make up for it in the second contest, and John Bonifusco came up with his 9th win of the year and his 2nd complete game of the season. It might have been his first, as he limited the Reds to 7 hits and 2 runs, and the Padres make it 2 wins in one day and get back to 500 at 55-55 for their record. 6 runs, 11 hits with an error, and 9 left on for the Padres in the second game. The Reds had 2 runs, 7 hits with 1 error, and 7 men were stranded. A home run for the Reds' Eddie Milner, and that is his 7th home run of the season. Milner knocked in one of the 2 runs. Nick Osaski had the other RBI, 2nd RBI in the doubleheader, and his 26th of the season. A game-winning RBI for Juan Bonilla, 2nd baseman for San Diego. John Bonifusco 9-2 with a complete game win, and Ted Power takes the loss for the Reds. And he is now 5-5, stopping that 4-game winning streak. And he ended up at, so far he's 1-1 in this series, decisions in 2 of the last 3 ball games. 2 hours and 30 minutes for the second game of the doubleheader last night. Again, the attendance is 14,106 total at Jack Murphy Stadium. And a good evening of baseball for the Padres. 11-4 winners in the first game, coming back to beat the Reds in the nightcap 6-2. As I mentioned, Ted Power, the losing pitcher in the second game last night, his first really bad outing in about a month. He had done just a fine job with a 265 earned run average in his previous 21 times to the mound before last night, but he goes 2/3 of an inning and gives up 3 hits and as many runs all earned. The second game. That was in relief of Joe Price, who made the start, and he was having some shoulder problems, though. He was taken out after only 2 1/3 frames. He gave up 3 hits and a run, walked a batter, struck out 2, allowed a home run, and then Power came on, and then Rich Gale, 3 innings of 1 hit ball, no runs, a walk, and 3 strikeouts. Then Ben Hayes, a bad outing, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts in 2 innings. So the relief pitching really just was not there in that doubleheader. You look at the runs the relievers gave up. Shearer gave up 2 in the first game of the Twin Bill, and Hume 6. As I mentioned, 2 earned because of the error by Danny Dreesen. And Dreesen's committed a few errors of late. I think he had 3 all of last year. He's had at least that many this season, if not more. And then that'd be 5 runs given up by the relief pitchers after Joe Price left with some arm problems after 2 1/3 in the second game last night. So, that bullpen had been doing such a fine job, but I guess it's just been overworked. Manager Nixon has had to go to that pen a lot of times, so we haven't had many complete games lately. Soto did not complete his last start. We had a line of pitchers after him, and now Price is suffering with some arm problems. He normally is out there for 7, 8 innings, but not last night, so subsequently we have to go to 3 relief pitchers. That was a long night at the ballpark. I'd rather forget about that altogether. The Saturday, August 6th doubleheader is a bad night at Black Rock, as they say. Reds losing 2 times, and that doubleheader was not over until 2 o'clock exactly. That's a.m. Cincinnati time. A 2-hour 30-minute nightcap and a 2-hour 48-minute first game. I clocked them at 2:47, 2:31 respectively, in case you're interested. And, that's a look at these last 7 games. Reds losing 4 of the 7, and the Reds' record is now 49-62 on the season as we enter this ball game today. Wrap up of their road trip at San Diego. I should also mention there was another home run by Rupert Jones. In fact, he's hit 2 I did not bother to mention in this series. On August the 5th, in the Reds' 4-3 victory, Jones had the only home run in that game, his 7th of the year, and he came back and hit 1 in the first game of the doubleheader last night, his 8th of the season. And that was the 2nd hit in that 8th inning off Tom Hume, and the 6th Hume's given up this season. A big day for Bobby Brown, who knocked in 4, and Tony Gwynn had a 6-hit doubleheader. He was 4 for 5 in the Twin Bill. 4 for 5 for Tony Gwynn. I think I said that Brown was the doubleheader guest on Star of the Game last night. Well, he certainly was not. He talked to Tony Gwynn. As I recollect the conversation now, Nuxall talked to Tony Gwynn, who had 6 hits, 2 in the nightcap, and 4 for 5 in that first game. And I think he had a double, a triple, several singles. He stole some bases, did it all. A fine rookie outfielder for the Padres, actually second-year outfielder. He was brought up just about a year ago at this time from that time, their AAA in Hawaii, and now he's up for his first full season. So I think that takes care of these last several games, and now it's time for Reds baseball on August the 7th. Cincinnati versus San Diego. Stick around.
Ninth inning coming up. They got to Pastore for 2 in the 8th, but still trail by 2, 5-3. Swung on and hit into left center field. High fly ball. Householder, Walker. Walker calls, and he's got it. And he walked him on 4 straight. Well, it gives the Padres a shot now, and here comes Russ Nixon back to the mound, and we may well see a pitching change at this juncture. He obviously was going to give Frank all the leeway necessary, and Russ is going to stay with him one more time. Well, Dave Pallone leaving the plate and looking into the San Diego dugout. Salazar is leaving the plate now and is going back in, so looks like Dick Williams is going to take Salazar down and send up a pinch hitter. Left-handed batting, Gene Richards. Possibly the thinking by Padre manager Williams is that Richards less likely to hit into a double play because of his good speed as opposed to Salazar. Needing a strike in the worst sort of way. He gets a grounder back to the mound. Pastore will go to Foley. Foley goes to Dreesen, and this one belongs to the Reds. Richards does, in fact, bounce into a double play. 1-6-3. And the Reds gain a victory today and gain a split in the weekend series. Here in the night, no runs, no hits, and nobody left on. Final score, Reds 5, Padres 3. And we'll return after this. Frank Pastore and Ron Oster were the mainliners this afternoon as the Reds scored a 5-3 come-from-behind victory over San Diego. Come from behind in the sense that the Padres scored a run in the first inning on a two-out triple by Rupert Jones and a base hit by Terry Kennedy. It stayed that way until the fifth inning when Ron Oster led off with a base hit against the eventual loser Ed Whitson, and 2 outs later, Frank Pastore hit the first home run struck by a Reds pitcher this season, a shot to left field to give the Reds a 2-1 lead. Cincinnati extended that on the strength of a 3-run sixth, and the big blow in that inning was a 2-run home run, the 9th of the year, by second baseman Ron Oster. That gave the Reds a 5-1 lead, and Pastore was going to need it because the Padres came back with 2 runs in the 8th inning after Frank had retired 11 batters in a row. A leadoff double by Juan Bonilla, a 1-out double by Bobby Brown made it 5-2, and 1 out later, Rupert Jones' single to right field made it 5-3. But Pastore was able to hang in with Kennedy representing the tying run at the plate. He got him to bounce out to second base. Then in the 9th inning, with 1 out, Tony Gwynn drew a walk after Russ Nixon came to the mound and made the decision to leave Frank in. He faced pinch hitter Gene Richards and got Richards to bounce into a game-ending 1-6-3 double play. Reds had 5 runs, 8 base hits, 3 men left on. San Diego had 3 runs, 6 hits, 2 errors, and 4 left. Pastore, with his second complete game victory of the season, goes 5-10 with the win, and Ed Whitson, who worked the first 6 for the Padres, goes 2-7 with the defeat. Now the Reds finished this road trip with a record of 5 wins and 6 defeats, and after an off day tomorrow, we'll begin that 9-game homestand at Riverfront Stadium on Tuesday night. An 8:15 start, the Reds against the Dodgers, with Mario Soto slated to hook up with Fernando Valenzuela. We'll have the pregame shows on most of these same stations beginning at 7:45 Cincinnati time. Again, the final score today in a game that took 2 hours and 24 minutes to play before a crowd of 14,476. The Reds 5 and the Padres 3.
That was Reds announcer Marty Brenneman reporting from San Diego Jack Murphy Stadium on this 7th day of August, 1983. It was a Sunday afternoon series wrap-up to a 4-game set at San Diego today. Reds and Padres split 4 right down the middle. The Reds win the outside 2, and the Pods win the middle 2, coming last night in that doubleheader. Reds winning 4-3 Friday. I recapped the Padre doubleheader victory last night, and the Reds coming back with a 2-run, come-from-behind 5-3 victory over Dick Williams' San Diego Padres this afternoon. Cincinnati is now 4-6 against that ball club this year, including 3-4 in 7 games at San Diego and 1-2 at Cincinnati in 1 series against the Padres this season. So the Reds won 4 and lost 4 of the final 8 games on this 11-game trip, and overall they end up 1 under. And that 1 under coming at Houston, if you want to look at it like that. They split 2 of the 3 series, lost only 1 series, and that was when they dropped that series 2-1 to the Astros last weekend on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So a pretty good road trip, and over the last 2 trips, the Reds are 1 over at 10-9, including a 5-3 excursion on the last one. And that was a 2-series job, I believe it was. That's only the 2nd winning road trip for the Reds since September of '81. The Reds went 4-3 on their final road trip as the only winning one of the year last year, and now 5-3 and 5-6 on the last 2 here in '83. The Reds will be going back home where they were 4-4 on the last homestand. Tonight they'll be going back home, and they'll have an off day tomorrow and then open up a series of 3 against the Dodgers on Tuesday to start a 9-game homestand, all against Western Division ball clubs. As the Reds are back in the West for 20 straight games after playing in the East for quite some time, and they're one over against Eastern Division teams at 28 and 27, and so far against the West they're now 22 and 35, and 4 and 6 against San Diego, 5 and 6 in 11 games against Los Angeles. The Reds getting 8 base hits, and one of those was a big home run by Frank Pastore, which I'll highlight with Marty Brenneman coming up later on. And a big blow right there, unexpected. A game-winning homer for Frank Pastore, so he did it all today, and he was, to say the least, the star of the game on the Reds radio network, talking with Joe Nuxall this afternoon. And good pitching by the right-hander. He gets his 5th win, finally, after trying 3 or 4 times to get it. Breaks a mini 2-game loss streak. His first win since the 17th of last month when he beat the Phillies on a 2-hitter, gave up 2 solo homers in a 5-2 Reds victory at Veterans Stadium. And he's gone 3-2 and has pitched some very good baseball since the All-Star game. This was my 27th game scored here in 1983. I'll take a look at my personal data right now. The record goes back over 500 with this victory. 14 wins, 13 losses. That's a .519 winning percentage and an excellent 5-2, .714 since the All-Star game. And now 1-0 in August. I finished up 5-2 for 7 games in July. Against the Padres, 2 wins, no losses, both wins coming at San Diego, the first back on the 14th of June. The Reds have now won 7 of my last 9 games scored. I had a 6-game winning streak stopped 3 games back, and then a 2-game loss string was not extended today. So 2 of the last 3 have been losses, but that mini 2-game losing streak is now over. The Reds have gone 8-4 in my last 12 and have gone 9-6, an excellent percentage in the last 15 bowl games that I have penciled in. In road games, the record's now 8-9, and in daytime play, back even at 5 wins and 5 losses. Lifetime game number 337 was this afternoon. It's lifetime number 330 with the Reds. 194 Reds wins have come and gone, and 136 losses. That is 58 over 500 for a .588 winning percentage. In games on cassette tape, 223 in force. 127 of those are Reds victories, and 96 have been Cincinnati defeats. That's a .570 winning percentage. 5.695 to be exact. That rounds up to .570. That's 31 games over 500. Last year against the Padres, a win, 3 losses, including a win and a loss at San Diego. So that's a brief rundown of my update for game 27 here in 1983. And game number 2 against San Diego, both victories, and an outstanding ball game this afternoon. It didn't look too good, didn't start out too well. The Reds didn't get much at all in the first 4 innings, had no runs, 2 hits. The Padres had a run on a couple of hits in the first, but then 11 consecutive batters retired by Pastore as he went into a good groove before running into difficulties in the 8th inning. Looked like manager Nixon was going to take him out there in that 9th inning, but he elected to let him pitch to the left-handed batting Gene Richards, and he got the speedster to hit into an unlikely double play. Bounced it back to the mound, and Richards will have a very low GIDP number at the end of the year. That is grounding into double plays, and he's not going to ground into too many of those, especially in a situation like that when he knows he's got to get the base hit. He's a good hitter. He's been around for several years. He came up in 1977 with the Padres and established a record for most steals by a rookie with 56. That was eclipsed in 81 by Tim Raines when he got 71. And has done a pretty good job and a steady job for the Padres, but now I guess he's sitting on the bench a lot. Comes off to pinch hit for Salazar and hits into a game-ending double play, and he was only a ball out of the strike zone away from putting them at first and second with only 1 out for Juan Bonilla, but he swings at it, and a big pitch thrown right there by Pastore. He starts the double play that ends the ball game, so everything went right for Pastore. Pitched a good game, got one of the game-ending assists there. Has dished it on to Foley and hit a game-winning home run, so just a little bit of everything for Pastore this afternoon. Let's take a look at the lineups now quickly. I'll have a rundown of the data here for these players. To lead it off in center field is Paul Householder. I had penciled in Eddie Milner up there, but I had to scratch him out because he is not playing today. As, let's see, they reported it up in the booth, some sort of a mild problem for Eddie Milner. And he's not in the lineup. He was originally in the lineup, though, and Householder came on late to start for him in center, and he did not have a base hit in 4 trips. House starting out the day with a .257 batting average. He's had 3 home runs and has knocked in 19. Hitting second and left field is Dwayne Walker. He's gotten a few starts lately because Gary Reedus has been, he's been benched the last 3 games, in fact. Only had 1 at bat in the doubleheader last night, and that was a game-ending strikeout. And he's now 2 for 4 as a pinch hitter. Had gone 2 for his first 2, and speaking of pinch hitting, Walker, the man who's taking Reedus' place in the final part of this series, is the most proficient pinch hitter on the ball club, But of course, not a pinch hitter today. Is in the starting lineup. He's got 10 pinch hits. And that's as many as the top man for the Padres has, Kurt Bavacqua. I think Bavacqua's 10 for 19 as a pinch hitter. But he, like Walker, was starting today. Bavacqua taking over for the injured and the disabled Steve Garvey. He's on the disabled list for the first time in many seasons, and his consecutive games playing streak was stopped on July 29th at home against the Braves in the first game of a twilight doubleheader. Stopped at 1,207 consecutive games, third on the all-time list, only 100 away from second place Everett Scott. He had played exactly 100 straight games with his new club, the Padres, this year. Before being injured, he dislocated his left thumb while trying to score on a wild pitch from an Atlanta pitcher in the first game, and I think it was the first inning of that doubleheader on the 29th of last month. So Bavacqua taking over, and one of the fine pinch hitters in the league, along with Walker, who is 10 for 29, Walker, and that figures to 345 with 8 RBIs as a pinch swinger. Overall, Walker with 20 runs batted in, and he's hit 2 home runs and was batting .255 when this game started, batting second today. Hitting third and right field is Cesar Cedeno, and Twin C hitting .232, having hit safely in 6 of his last 7, batting well over 300 in that period. In fact, .320 in that period over the last 7 games. And he's hit 7 home runs, 1 on the road trip, and he's knocked in a total of 33, several lately. Hitting fourth at first base is Danny Dreesen, top hitter on the team and top run producer. He's knocked in a club-leading 42. That's now only 1 more than Oster, who's really knocked in a lot on this road trip, with 3 home runs, including 1 today. And Dreesen with 11 homers, second on the team, and a .285 batting average. And getting up there in slugging average, too, second on the team, starting out at .454 today. Hitting fifth at third base is Nick Osaski. Now, he tops the team in slugging percentage, and he is about 4th in home runs. Oster getting 1 today, breaks out of a tie with Osaski at bench. So 1, 2, 3, 4, tied for 4th in homers. Osaski was called up just a couple of months ago from Indy, and he's been slumping a little bit of late, down to .257 on his average. Was well over 300, remember, for the first month. 8 homers and 26 RBIs, not bad production for Mr. Osaski, but he had 7 homers in his first 29 games as a Red. Hitting in the 6th position is Ronnie Oster, starting to heat up a bit now, a .270 average to start out this game for Ronnie, with 8 home runs and 39 RBIs. Hitting 7th is the catcher, Dan Billardello, a .240 batting average for Danny, getting his 2nd straight start, and he is appearing, I think he's appeared in every game in the series. He took over late for Johnny Bench in the first game of the doubleheader last night. Bench made a start behind the plate in the first game of that twin bill at San Diego, and that's his first start since the 29th of April, 1981, his first start as a catcher. And that, ironically, was against the Padres. That was at home, though, at Riverfront, in a big Reds victory on the 29th of April 2 years ago. And he's made only some 3 catching appearances, 4 now. Since that time, he made 1 catching appearance last year. And the time that he spent behind the plate yesterday, the 3rd time he's gone back there this year, the first as a starter. He caught 2 innings earlier on this road trip, once at Houston, once at Los Angeles, and both times he caught Ted Power. And he was back there for the first 7 or 8 innings last night in the first game before Billardello took over for him. Bench did commit 1 error, threw a ball into center, and he was over 4 in gunning down runners. He did gun down a runner on August 2nd, though, at L.A., gunned down Darrell Thomas on a good throw, and it was a low pitch, too, when he got him. It's kind of nice to see Johnny back there once in a while. He's going to be starting on his Johnny Bench night at Riverfront on Saturday the 17th of next month. And that'll probably be the final time he'll be behind the dish at Riverfront Stadium. But Billardello back there today, and he had a game-time average of .240 with 3 homers and 17 RBIs. Hitting 8th, the shortstop, Tom Foley, rarely used infielder. He's a rookie. A .214 average for him. He's been up as a pinch hitter several times with 4 of his 12 hits coming in that capacity, including 1 in this series. And let's see, he's got 6 RBIs, I believe. Yes, 6 RBIs. He's yet to hit a Major League home run. He's had 3 doubles. And batting 9th is the pitcher, Frank Pastore. It was in an 0 for 17 dry spell coming into this game. Broke out of that nicely with a home run. A .135 game-time batting average with 5 hits. He's had 3 RBIs. And he's delivered with 1 two-bagger. And for the San Diego Padres, their leadoff hitter is a journeyman, Bobby Brown. He started, I believe, in the Philadelphia organization and was traded in that Raleigh Eastwick trade along with Jay Johnstone to the New York Yankees in 1977, I think it was. Or might have been 78 on the June 15th, the trading deadline, I believe. And then he was bounced around from AAA to the Major League team with the New York Yankees, and then I think he went to Seattle for a while. And I think he was also with the Toronto Blue Jays for a brief period and was released. I believe it was released by the Mariners early this spring, and then he was signed to a Las Vegas AAA contract by the Padres, just promoted recently, and he's done just a fine job. Has had a grand slam home run and a .313 batting average, 3 home runs overall, 9 runs batted in. And I think a couple of game-winning RBIs for Bobby Brown. So, as he is being dubbed now, Bobby Uptown Brown, he's done a fine job. His second career grand slam was last night off Tom Hume, as I mentioned, in that 8-run eighth inning of that first game. I think they said his first grand slam had come in '79 with the New York Yankees. I think it was an American League slam. A big hit for Bobby Brown. That's the 4th grand slam hit by a Padre this season. That ties a club record. The Reds have only hit one by Dave Concepcion in May at Chicago. But Bobby, a .313 average, doing a fine job as their left fielder. Batting second at shortstop is Gary Templeton, the former Cardinal. .243 average for Temp, with 3 homers, 24 knocked in. Hitting third in center field is Roop Jones. 8 homers, 31 RBIs, 2 homers in this series, a .231 average. Hitting fourth is the catcher, Terry Kennedy, having a good year. He's had 9 homers to go with a .299 batting average and 64 RBIs. Batting fifth is their first baseman, a veteran, and a former Padre himself. He's back for the second time, Kurt Bevacqua. He's been with the Pirates twice, Padres twice, Rangers, Royals a couple of times, Brewers, Reds, Indians. Started with the Reds organization back in 1970. .296 average for the part-timer, and now the full-time, apparently, first baseman since Garvey's on the shelf with that left thumb dislocation. And he's going to be out for 21 days. We'll try to start a new string of consecutive games played sometime later this month. Hitting sixth in right field is Tony Gwynn, a fine-looking young outfielder. Came into last night's game, I think batting .257, Nuxie said, and up to .288 with 6 hits in the doubleheader last night. No hits today, though. No homers, 12 RBIs. He hit safely in 17 of his first 18 Major League games early or late last season after being called up from Hawaii, including a 15-game hitting streak, just one off the team record set in 1977 by Dave Winfield, who's now with the Yankees, who had hit in 16 in a row back in '77. Hitting fourth today at third base is Luis Salazar, 7 homers, 27 RBIs, and a solid .276 average for the former Pittsburgh farmhand, obtained in August of 1980 along with Rick Lancellotti in that deal for Kurt Bevacqua, in fact, and now he's back with them. Also Mark Lee in that deal. Hitting eighth, a .252 batter, Juan Bonilla, picked up in the Cleveland Indians in a great trade for Bob Lacey, April of '81. Bonilla, 2 homers, 32 RBIs, solidifies things at second. Batting ninth is the pitcher, Ed Whitson, who's won only twice this year, once against the Reds for his only complete game of the season. Now that's a look at the lineups, and again the starting pitchers, a couple of right-handers. Ed Whitson, first time I've scored him since 1981 when he was with the Giants. He was with the Indians last year, former Pirate also. And he pitched with the Pirates briefly back in the '70s. And Frank Pastore for the Reds, 4 wins, 10 losses. The top of the first inning, Reds out in order, 3 ground balls. Householder and Walker grounded out to second baseman Bonilla. Cedeno grounded out to third base, nothing across. In the bottom of the first inning, Bobby Brown popped one up to shortstop. Templeton flied out to left on a 3-2 pitch. Then Rupert Jones had a tripled on the right field line and got caught underneath the bullpen bench. But that's not in the ground rules. That's not a dead ball. Cedeno had to go in there and search for it. He finally got it back in, not before Jones had been to third with his second triple in as many days. He then scored 1 pitch later as Kennedy rammed a single to right field for his 65th RBI of the year. Bevacqua hit a fly ball to right to win the inning. A run, 2 hits, 1 left. And after 1, it's 1-0 Padres. The Reds get a leadoff single, hit sharply into right center field by Danny Dreesen to open up the second, and that was off of a 3-2 pitch delivered by Ed Whitson, a first-year Padre, who came over from the Cleveland Indians in a 3-player deal on the 18th day of November, 1982. Whitson obtained from the Indians in an exchange for 2 players, actually. Broderick Perkins, a reserve outfielder who did a pretty good job as a pinch hitter last season for the Padres, and also right-hander Juan Eichelberger, who's not having such a good first season in the American League with the Indians. And Whitson, not such a good year this season, at 2-7 now with the loss. And Dreesen gets a hit off of him to start off the second, and then Osaski strikes out swinging. And Ron Oster hits into a double play. It goes 3-6-3. Good job by Bevacqua. Got it onto the shortstop, and then back to Bevacqua for the double play to end the inning. No runs ahead, and nobody's left on base, so still minimum is faced through 2 by the pitcher Whitson. In the bottom of the second inning, Pastore gets him in order for the first time. He got Gwynn on a ground ball to shortstop Tom Foley, who is spelling Davy Concepcion today, as Davy, I believe, went the full route in the doubleheader last night, so they're giving him the day off today. Luis Salazar popped one up to the second baseman Ronnie Oster, and then Juan Bonilla hit a ground ball to second baseman Oster, who was a busy guy today around the Keystone sack. No runs, no hits, nobody left on. In the top of the third inning, well, nothing much here. There was a two-out error by third baseman Luis Salazar. That's become commonplace in this series. Frank Pastore hit a two-out grounder to him, and he threw it away. He threw a missile over there. He could have lollipopped it. And Joe Nuxall was calling this inning. He could, as Nuxall put it, he could have thrown a parachute over there, would have had him a mile, but he decided to throw a laser beam, and it got by the first baseman Bavacqua. A terrible throw. It almost got into the dugout. It rocketed off the fence, and it was backed up of the first baseman. Pastore could go no further, but he was not running down the line at all. Well, he was, but just jogging it. And that is the first of two errors in this game charged to Salazar, his fourth error in this series, and that covers just 3+ games at this point. That was after Bill Ardello opened up the third by striking out Sweeney. Then we had a Tom Foley fly ball to center. Then Pastore reaches on the air, and then Householder ends the inning with a pop-up to shortstop. So nothing much, no runs, no hits, one error, one man left on. In the bottom half of the third inning, there was a leadoff base hit by the Padre pitcher Ed Whitson, as he had a liner to right field, almost a fine shoestring catch made by Cesar Cedeno. He came up with it, but it was a trap. A nice job to stop the ball. Whitson stops at first with a single. He's then forced out on a 4-6 ground ball hit by Bobby Brown. They almost got the double play, but Brown is pretty swift already with 5 steals and 2 in one game yesterday. So a 4-6 force play. Brown at first, 1 out for Gary Templeton. Templeton hit a weak ground ball to second. Oster threw him out as Brown went to second. But Rupert Jones ended the inning with a fly ball to right field. Cedeno stabbed it. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, 1 runner left on. In the top of the fourth inning, Dwayne Walker leads off by popping one up to the shortstop Templeton. Cedeno then grounded out to third for the second time, and Dan Dreesen had a base hit to right center field, the same place he had one in the second. So the first 2 hits for the Reds belonged to Dreesen, and this was a rocket shot into right center. Moving over quickly in the gap to cut it off was the right fielder. Got it back in, and Danny had his second hit. He had a 2-hit day in Game 2 of the doubleheader last night. In fact, both doubles. He had 3 doubles in the doubleheader last night to give him 9 two-base hits on the season. I think he went through the first part of July, or into mid-July, with only 2 doubles on the year, and he's had 7 since that time, and that's about the last 3 weeks. He gets 2 singles today and raises his average several points. He's up to 290 now with the 2-for-3 day plus a walk. A 2-out single for Dreesen brings up Nick Osaski. Osaski can't get the tying run in as he strikes out Sweeney for the second time against Whitson. Whitson fanned 5 in this game, 3 of them against Osaski, all swinging. And Nick has a propensity of striking out. He fans a lot, and it seems to be getting worse as he's going deeper into a slump. We need him to break out of that, maybe with a couple of home runs in as many nights or something to get his confidence back. In the fourth inning for the Reds, no runs, 1 hit, no errors, a man is left on. In the bottom half of the fourth inning, Pastore faces Terry Kennedy, and he gets him out on a 3-2 pitch, and Pastore was saying today on the start of the game he cannot remember ever going a full count to Kennedy. Usually he gets him out on breaking balls and the junk pitches. He didn't want Kennedy to hear that, but he's been getting him out this season on those breaking balls. Usually on the first or second pitch he'll swing and weakly ground out or pop up. But he went the distance on him twice in his second and fourth times up in this game, and he got him out both times he went all the way. And he hit a first-pitch single that got a run in the first inning against Pastore. And I guess he buckled down, and Pastore decided to retire him in the fourth. Went out to 3-2, and he flied out to center. Then on a 3-2 pitch, Pastore was upset with himself as he walked Kurt Bavacqua, one of only 2 passes he issues in the full 9 innings. Then Tony Gwynn has a first-pitch fly ball to center. That was a nice running catch in right center made by Paul Householder, and it looked kind of a strange way to catch it. He caught it over... Well, his glove was to his left. He could have gotten underneath it and made the catch above his head, but he elected to make it sort of a circus catch, and I guess the sun was playing tricks with it. And the sun was in his eyes, I should say, and he did pull it down on the warning track, and Cedeno was right there, too, in right center. And if that had fallen in, I think Bavacqua might have been able to score. He was halfway to second. Then he came back as the catch was made. 2 out, 1 on for Luis Salazar. He hits a ground ball to shortstop. The play goes 6-3. Foley on to first. Foley, a very good fielding shortstop. You're not giving up much when you take Davey out of there, and that's really a statement because the clinic that Davey performed at Los Angeles was written up in the papers after that series went over on Thursday, and apparently they were really raving about Davey's defensive antics in that 4-game set just completed at L.A. on Thursday. And Foley's a good one also, coming up through the Reds minor league system in his first year as a Red. He had never played a day with the Reds before this season, but was on the opening day roster and has only had a handful of at-bats, coming into this game with 56 times to the plate and only a .214 average. but he's done a fine job at shortstop when filling in for the Wizard, Concepcion. Good play on Salazar to get him out in the fourth inning. No runs, no hits, a walk, and a man left at first base. Now we go to the top half of the fifth frame. Reds trailing 1-0. That's not going to be like that for too much longer. There was a big 2-out base hit by Frank Pastore, a 4-base hit, in fact. Ronnie Oster leads off with a critical single that goes into center field off of a 3-2 pitch. And Dan Bellardello on the first pitch to him and a foul pop to third baseman Salazar. Tom Foley then struck out swinging on a pitch that was way low and inside. Foley thought he checked the swing, and that was very close. They checked with the third base umpire, and he said he went around, so that's a strikeout for Whitson. Then Frank Pastore settles into the batter's box, and he's hit one home run in his major league career before this at-bat here. And I'll have to tell you the truth, he's hit two, but the one didn't count because it was rained out. That's the first thing he said on Start of the Game today, too. Nuxall points out to him, he says, well, you've now hit 3 home runs, and Pastore comes back, yes, but only 2 have counted. That's right, because he hit one in a rained-out game on the 19th of April, 1981, at Riverfront against the Cardinals and Silvio Martinez. For a 1-0 Reds lead, it was washed out in the third inning. And his first major league home run that counted was a green cedar at Riverfront on the 23rd of August of '82. That was hit off Bill Gullickson in a 6-2 Cincinnati victory. Now let's listen to this blast as called by Marty Brenneman in the 5th inning.
Here's a drive hit well to left field. If it's fair, it's gone. Home run. Frank Pastore lines one into the seats in left field. That turns a 1-0 deficit into a 2-1 lead.
Marty, remember the last time he hit a home run?
He got it washed out against the St. Louis Cardinals. That was, 2 years ago? Silvio Martinez. He hammers that one out of here to left. I know what you're going to say. Talking about those unanimous clouds again.
Well, Marty and Joe were talking about some rather ominous clouds that were over San Diego's Jack Murphy Stadium as this inning was underway, and it looked like they might have a rain delay later in the ballgame, but apparently the storm passed them by because there was no precipitation at the ballpark today. There was some light rain as the doubleheader started last night, but no rain delays at all, no problems. Normally in Southern California, and especially in San Diego, you will not experience weather problems like they have had the last couple of nights, but not during the ball games. And apparently they had a fierce thunderstorm last night as Marty and Joe were leaving the ballpark to go back to the hotel, and they got caught in it, I guess. Lightning and thunder and winds, and it was like Midwest weather, and they're not used to that out in San Diego, but luckily that storm passes by, and of course after this 5th inning it is an official game, but we don't have to worry about that. Now they mentioned that the last home run Pastore had hit was that rained-out homer that I talked about, April of '81, but it was announced over the speaker by the San Diego official scorer, I guess. That was Pastore's second Major League homer, and he pointed out the one August 23rd of last year against Montreal, and I guess they had just forgotten about that one. Brenneman and Nuxall both had forgotten about the one he hit last year. I would think they remember that. That was a big hit, I think, in the second inning to give the Reds a padded lead, I think a 3-1 or 4-1, on that solo homer by Pastore. Up in the green seats, and he really drilled this one. This might have been in the green at Riverfront. It made it to the seats and straight away left field, a bullet with 2 men out. 2 RBIs for Pastore gives him 5 on the year, and of course his first homer, and again his second Major League home run. He had reached both times. He reached on the air in the 3rd inning, so a good day for Pastore, even with the bat. After the game-winning blast by Pastore, Householder hit a ground ball to first to end the inning. 2 runs, 2 hits, no errors, nobody left on base. In the bottom half of the 5th inning, the Reds now leading by 1. Pastore really starts to get tough here. He gets him in order in the next 3 innings in a row. Bonilla on the first pitch hit a ground ball to shortstop. Foley on to first base to retire Bonilla. And then Ed Whitson comes to the plate. He is called out on strikes. First strikeout of the game for Pastore. And Brown hit a fly ball to center. Nothing to cross in the 5th for San Diego. Now in the top half of the 6th inning, the Reds get some insurance runs here for Mr. Pastore as we send 6 men to the plate in scoring. We score 3 of them. Dwayne Walker leads off a single to right field, and then Cesar Cedeno hits a ground ball to third base and gets a base hit out of this.
Runner starts to go, stops, high chop off the plate. That's going to be picked up by Salazar. He threw it away. Threw it over the head of Bavacqua. They've got a play on Cedeno at second, and he's tagged out. The ball caromed off the rolled-up tarp over behind first base. It bounced back to Bavacqua. And he threw on to the second baseman, Juan Bonilla, who put the tag on Cedeno well short of the bag. Walker goes around to third.
Now, they give Cedeno an infield base hit on that ball, and rightly so, because I think he had the throw beat anyhow. And there is an error charged, although originally they did not have the error in there, but it has to be an error because Walker would have stopped at second if the throw had been true and on the money to Bavacqua. And, of course, it's not an error to allow the runner to reach base, it's just to allow the runner to advance to third. Now, Cedeno's out, and he's thrown out 3 to 4, so actually the error doesn't cost him until later. But the man Walker does get around to third base, so it's a single and an error. The second of the game on Salazar, his second 2-error game in the series, his 5th in the series. He had only committed 11 errors through last Thursday, and now has committed 5 in this series, 16 errors on Salazar this year. That wouldn't be that bad a figure, but you look at 5 in the last, 4 games, and that does not look too good for Luis. And Joe Nuxall said it might be coming about because he fouled a ball off of his, off of his arm the other day, and it might be giving him problems. That right wing giving him problems, I guess, and he just can't seem to throw to first base with any accuracy. So we got a runner at third now, 1 out, a strange play, a hit, an out, and an error all in one. And with Danny Dreesen at the plate, we get a run the easy way.
Pitches in the dirt, it gets away from Terry Kennedy, and scoring will be Walker to give the Reds a 3-1 lead.
A ball that skipped in the dirt. It got by catcher Terry Kennedy. That's a wild pitch charged against Padre pitcher Ed Whitson. And we get a run in fairly easily there. He just walks home. Walker touches the plate. And we have now a lead of 3-1 after trailing 1-0. That was ball 3 on Dreesen. Had been 2-2. Then the wild pitch made it 3-2 on Danny. The next pitch was ball 4. Danny had drawn another walk. He's up among leaders on the team and bases on balls, probably is first, right up there with Eddie Milner. And so he's at first base now, and he's the only man on base at this time, with 1 man out. Nick Osaski at the plate, and he goes down swinging. And that's the 3rd straight time he has struck out against Whitson. And now we get another big 2-out, run-scoring base hit. Ronnie Oster at the plate. He had grounded into a double play and had a single and scored a run the previous inning in the 5th. Now in the 6th inning, he provides the Reds with a couple more runs.
That's a drive back into deep right field. That's a home run, and it's out of here by a long, long way. Ronnie is really tied into one. Only question is whether or not it was going to be fair or foul, and it's straightened out very nicely. His 9th of the season, and the Reds now lead by 4 big ones at 5-1. So Ed Whitson has thrown up a pair of 2-run homers this afternoon, 1 to Pastore and now 1 to Oster.
Now the 2 homers the Reds hit in this ball game were no cheapies. They got out of the ballpark by wide margins. Pastore's to left field up in the seats in the 5th inning, and now a deep shot down the right field line by Ronnie Oster. His 9th of the season, that ties his all-time personal high for homers in 1 year, set last season. And, boy, he's got a lot of time, almost 2 months, to nail another one and get into double figures for the first time in his Major League career. He'll do that, you know that. Unless he comes down with a disease or something that allows him, or doesn't allow him to play. But he's going to get a new high in homers when he hits his next one. His 9th of the year gives him RBIs number 40 and 41, now just 1 away from the team leader, Danny Dreesen. He's driven in a lot of runs for the Reds, Oster has, over the last several years since becoming a regular in July of 1980. And that's a big 2-out homer, just like Pastore's in the 5th, and they're both 2-run homers. And the Reds now lead at 5-1, with all 5 of the Reds' runs coming in the middle innings, 5 and 6. Bill Ardello's next up. He hits a pop-up to the second baseman, Bonilla. He made the catch to win the inning. But the Reds had done damage with 3 runs on 3 hits. There was 1 error by Salazar. Nobody left on. All 3 runs are earned runs in the inning. Now we go to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Pastore rolling along. 3 straight grounders. Templeton 4-3. Rupert Jones 4-3. Oster throwing both of them out, and then Kennedy hit a ground ball that went first baseman Dreesen to the pitcher covering. In the top of the 7th inning, it's a new pitcher. They bring on right-handed veteran Elias Sosa, who was picked up on the 7th of October last year in a purchase transaction from the Detroit Tigers. Used to be with the Cardinals and the Oakland A's. And, let's see, where else has he been? San Francisco, I believe. And spent a year or 2 with Detroit in Sparky's bullpen. And now a Padre. And coming into this game with a 501 earned run average, it had been 532 before the appearance the other day that he lost. He lost Friday night, even though he gave up just one unearned run in 3 innings, lowering his ERA 31 notches, but he lost the ball game. He's 1-2 on the year. Comes on and pitches 2 perfect innings, retires 6 straight. In the 7th inning, he got Foley on a called third strike. Then Pastore grounded out to shortstop, and Householder tapped one to the first baseman Bavacqua. In the bottom of the 7th inning, Pastore gets Bavacqua on a check swing ground ball to third. And a nice play by Asaski, got him easy. Then Gwynn and a line drive right at the right fielder, Cesar Cedeno. Salazar bounced out to the second baseman Oster, who had several assists. That's 3 assists in the last 2 innings for Mr. Oster. And also Foley and Asaski getting on a ground ball, so Pastore had his off-speed pitches working. And he is keeping the ball down. You could see that with all these ground balls being hit, not a whole lot of fly balls. In the 7th inning for the Padres, no runs, no hits, nobody left on, and that's 11 in a row retired by Pastore. He had also gotten 15 of the last 16 batters and 19 of 21 after the run-scoring single by Kennedy in the first inning. That's how good he was going. He had a 1-hit shutout since the first inning. So, and also the home run, of course, I guess boosted his confidence, went out and wanted to protect that lead so that he could get the game-winning RBI, and that's exactly what he did. Now we go to the top half of the 8th inning. Sosa out there facing Walker. He got him on a called third strike. He wasn't too happy about the call by Pallone, but he's called out. Cedeno, a 6-3 grounder, and on the first pitch to Dreesen, he hit one to the second baseman Bonilla. Very quick inning for Sosa, nothing across. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Pastore hit some problems here. And they get half of their hits in this inning. They had just 2 runs, 3 hits over the final 6 innings. And they had 2 runs, 4 hits over the final 8 innings of this ball game. After that first, and he gets through this rocky 8th and goes on to complete the game. His manager Nixon showed confidence in him, and somewhat unexpected. I thought sure he'd take him out of the 9th, but that was a good move by Nixon to leave him in, as it turns out. In the 8th inning, they send several men up. They get 6 to the plate in this frame. A leadoff double to right center by Juan Bonilla. Then they send up a pinch hitter for Sosa, lefty swinging infielder Tim Flannery. He is called out on strikes at a pitch that appeared to be a little bit outside, and Flannery was not at all pleased with that call. He was really giving it to the umpire as he walked back behind him into the dugout. He's letting him have some heat there. Second time he's felt some heat from some frustrated batsmen. One's from Walker, now from Flannery. With 1 out, 1 on in the 8th inning, Brown had a double to left center field that got another run in, and another run for Brown's figures is what I meant to say. Only the second run of the game for the Padres, but Brown's done a job. He's knocked in 10 now since being recalled about a week ago. 10 RBIs for Brown, 3 homers. His average is going to dip down to probably around 302, something like that. A 1-for-4 day today and limited at bats. He'll probably drop to around 300. So a double here. He might have some kind of a hitting streak alive. We'd have to look that up, but he gets a twin base hit here to left center field. Off of a 3-2 pitch also. He hit it well. That gets a run in. Then Templeton on the first pitch had a fly ball to left. Easy catch for Walker. Rupert Jones had a base hit to right field. On the very first pitch, he bounced one over the head of Dreesen. It hit a rock or something and got through there for a single. And give Jones a run batted in. That would be his 32nd RBI of the year. Then Kennedy on a 3-2 pitch at a ground ball 4-3 to end the inning. 2 runs, 3 hits, a couple of doubles, no errors, 1 runner left on, and the lead is now shaved to 2 at 5-3 as the Reds come to bat in the top of the 9th inning against their third pitcher, left-hander Gary Lucas. We get a leadoff single to left center by Nick Asaski. A fine bare-handed play by Bobby Brown to keep that ball from going to the fence, and Asaski is held to a single. Ronnie Oster then flying out to left. Bellardello hit a ground ball 5-3 with Nick going to second base on that play. Runner at second, 2 out for Tom Foley, trying for his first hit. He hits a first-pitch fly ball to right fielder Tony Gwynn that ends the inning. In the 9th inning for the Reds, no runs, a hit, and 1 left against Lucas, and Pastore has to protect a 2-run lead going to the bottom half of the 9th inning. Kurt Bavacqua leads off a fly ball to left field. Then Tony Gwynn draws a base on balls on 4 straight pitches, only the second walk given up by Pastore, and his first was issued with 1 out on a 3-2 pitch to Bavacqua in the 4th inning. And then pinch hitter Gene Richards to the plate. Salazar had been at the plate, and he was all set to hit. He was announced, and then manager Williams decided to call him back in. And that's kind of disenchanting for Mr. Salazar. He's up there ready to hit. Now, he comes back into the dugout. It looked kind of strange. It looked like he was just walking off the field for no reason, but He was being pulled back in by the manager in favor of lefty swinging Gene Richards. A terrible move, as it turns out. Richards bangs the ball back to the mound, and the game was over.
Needing a strike in the worst sort of way. He gets a grounder back to the mound. Pastore will go to Foley. Foley goes to Dreesen, and this one belongs to the Reds. Richards does, in fact, bounce into a double play. 1-6-3. And the Reds gain a victory today and gain a split in the weekend series. Here in the night, no runs, no hits, and nobody left on. Final score, Reds 5, Padres 3.
A fine way to end this ball game. Pastore fields the one-hopper hit by pinch hitter Richards, turns it over to the shortstop Foley, and looked like he took a little bit too much time to getting it to Foley. I didn't think they had a chance of getting Richards, who's got great speed, but they did get him by about a step at first base, as Foley threw on to Dreesen to complete the game-ending 1-6-3 double play. That's the only double play turned in the game by the Reds, but it was a big one. The 84th of the year, turned by Cincinnati's defense here in 1983. That's exactly 3/4 of a double play per game. And we've gotten some big ones, and this was a big one to end the ball game. Gets Gwynn and Richards to end it. That was off of a 3-1 pitch. He had him 3-0, got a strike in, and, all right, well, it might have been 2-1, then 3-1, but anyway, it was on a 3-1 pitch. Richards hits into the double play, exactly what they didn't want him to do. And, well, Marty mentioned it up there. One of the reasons maybe he's sending him up is because he's unlikely candidate to hit into a double play. That's exactly what he does, and the game was over. No runs, no hits, a walk, no errors. The big double play, nobody left on, as Marty said, in that ninth inning. And the Reds win it by 2 on the bat, behind the bat, in the right arm of Mr. Pastore. Cincinnati 5 and San Diego 3. And now it's time to march on to the final statistics for this one. For the Cincinnati Reds, it's game number 112 on the season. The Reds' record is now 50 wins and 62 losses. This is win number 50 for the ball club. The Reds now 12 under 500. And the Reds are 10 full games better than last year at this time, as I'm doing one of my periodical record comparisons in this broadcast. I do that every once in a while. And you think this season's bad. Yes, the Reds are in last place. We're 18 games back right now, remaining there as the Braves come up with a win, salvaging one of the 3 they played at Los Angeles this weekend. Dodgers took the first 2 in that big weekend series at Los Angeles. So the Reds stay 18 games back. We lost a half game yesterday, losing 2, the Braves losing 1, so it goes from 17.5 to 18 and stays at 18 today. And you think that's bad. Well, last year we were 5 games worse off in the games behind column and 10 games worse than our record right now. A .446 winning percentage this year as compared to last year's 112 game winning percentage, which was .357. .357, almost 100 points worse than this season. We were 40 and 72 last year at this point in the season. That was after losing a 3-2 13-inning decision at Los Angeles on August the 9th. I think that was in the middle of a 5-game Reds losing streak, and the Reds had lost 7 of 9 during that stretch of ball games. So, 10 full games better this year than last. Now the Reds stopping a 2-game losing streak with this victory, a 2-game, 1-day losing streak. The Reds have still lost 4 of 7 and 9 of their last 14, but have been victorious in 3 of the last 5 ball games. So 50 and 62. The Reds using only 9 players in this ball game. The Padres went with 13, including 3 pitchers. For the Reds, number 21, Paul Householder in center field got the start in favor of Milner. 0 for 4 for Paul. But one pretty good catch in the outfield. His batting average drops off 5 points. He's at .252 now. He's got 55 hits. He's got a slugging average of .358. Hitting second and left field is Dwayne Walker. He's number 26, second-year outfielder, 1 for 4. And he scored 1 run on the wild pitch. He's batting .255. He's hit safely in 10 of his last 17 games. He's got 37 hits. He's slugging at .386. Hitting third and right field is Cesar Cedeno. He's number 28. 1 for 4 for Cesar, no runs or RBIs. His batting average stays the same, .232. 62 hits for him. He's hit safely in all but 5 of his last 18 games and 7 of his last 8. And 1 of 2, he had a 6-game hitting streak stopped yesterday. That might be the longest for him this year. So Cedeno at .232, slugging average .356. Hitting fourth at first base, Danny Dreesen. He's number 22. Good day for him. A walk, 2 singles, 3 at-bats, 1 run, no RBIs. Batting average, which rockets up to .290. Up 5 notches from game time. He's got 73 hits now. He's slugging at .456. He's hit safely in 5 of his last 6, 22 of his last 29, and that covers the period, I believe, since the All-Star game. And 27 of his last 36, and that goes back to close to when he was close to after he came back after he was injured. Now, let's see, he was hurt in mid-June and was on the disabled list for about 3 weeks because of a right hamstring problem, and he was flexing that down there today after one of his base hits. It looked like he might come out, but he played the full game. I'm glad to see that's not bothering him to any great degree, but he was flexing that in foul territory as he called time with the umpire. But 27 of his last 36 he's hit safely in, and now 290, tops on the team. It's another pretty good year for Danny shaping up. He batted .269 last year with 17 homers, 57 RBIs. Hitting fifth at third base is Nick Osaski. He's number 12. He was 1 for 4 today after striking out 3 times. Finally got a hit against who was it against? It must again be against the starter. I know it wasn't. That was against Lucas in the 9th inning. That for Osaski, his 44th hit of the year. He's hit safely in 24 of his last 36 games. So that's all but 12 of his last 36. He's batting .257 and leads the team in slugging at .468. Hitting 6th at second base, Ronnie Oster, number 16. Big day for him. 2 hits, 4 at-bats, a single, a homer, knocked in 2, scored twice. And number 16 now batting .272, second on the club. He's got 109 hits to top the team, 8 more than Eddie Milner, who's batting .271, 1 point behind Ronnie. Milner's hit safely in 7 of his last 8. And Ronnie now 401 at-bats. And, well, that home run he hit, in fact, was his 400th at-bat of the season. That leads the team. He's hit safely in 5 of his last 6 games now. He's slugging at .394. Hitting 7th is the catcher, Dan Bellardello, number 9. 0 for 4 for Danny. He's now dropping down to .235, all 5 points. He had a mini 3-game hitting streak stopped today. He's hit safely still in 7 of his last 9 games. He's had 46 hits on the season. Hitting in the 8th position is shortstop Tom Foley, a rare start for him. Several good assists in the field. He's number 10, former number of Sparky Anderson. 0 for 4 for Thomas. His batting average is now down to .200, where it was entering this series. 12 out of 60 for Tommy Foley now. Batting 9th is the pitcher, Frank Pastore, number 35. 1 hit, a big hit, a home run. 1 run scored, 3 at-bats, reached on an error, 2 RBIs. He's now batting .150. 6 for 40 on the year. He had an 0 for 18 dry spell stopped with that home run. Had not had a base hit since doubling against the Giants at home on the 16th of June. The Reds had 34 at-bats with 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 RBIs, and no miscues. A pitching line, which is a nice one for Pastore to take a look at now. He's number 35, the right-hander. Came up in 1979, pitched opening day that year for his first Major League appearance, and has been a mainstay on the Reds staff. Well, has had his ups and downs since then. 3-2 since the All-Star break. And he was at 2-8 at the break. He's now 5-10 on the year, a dime store record, as I like to say. 9 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned. He did not allow a home run. He walked a pair of batters, and he struck out a like number. 2 walks, 2 strikeouts for Pastore. On the season now, Frank has been in 26 games, 19 of those as a starter. He's been in 7 games in relief without a save. Now with 2 complete games, no shutouts, and a .516 earned run average down from .534. 5 wins in 122 innings, 134 hits, 14 homers. He's given up 72 runs, 70 earned. He's walked 42, and he has struck out 62 batters this season. Against the San Diego Padres, he goes over .500 lifetime, and 1-1 against them this year. He's 5-4 against them overall in his career. Last year against them, he was 0-1 in 3 starts without a complete game and a .377 earned run average. He only worked 14 1/3 innings against them last year, and he allowed 21 hits. 6 runs all earned, no homers, a walk, and 8 strikeouts. That ERA of 3 3/4. This season against him in 2 starts, a complete game, and a .225 earned run average, a win and a loss. 16 innings, 10 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned. He has walked 3 Padres is all, and has struck out 4 and has allowed a home run. He allowed a home run to Steve Garvey, his 10th of the year, back on the 16th of June at San Diego in a 3-1 Padres victory. That's his only other game against the Padres this season. In that game, he worked 7 innings, a 4-hit ball, didn't do a bad job, but lost it. Allowed 2 runs, 1 earned. He balked in Rupert Jones with the winning run. He walked a batter, and he struck out 2, a home run, a balk, and a hit batsman in that game. And so that's a look at Pastore's numbers right up to date. And now for the San Diego Padres, 13 players. In this game number 111 for San Diego, they're in 4th place in the West, just a couple of games now behind 3rd place Houston. They're 12.5 back in the West at 55 and 56, falling to 1 under today, a .495 winning percentage. Number 20 is Bobby Brown, the leadoff batter and left fielder. 1 for 4 for him, a double, a run scored, a run batted in. Batting second at shortstop is Gary Templeton, number 1, 0 for 4 for him. Hitting third in center field, Rupert Jones, he's number 9. 2 for 4 for Roop, a run scored, a triple, an RBI. Batting fourth is the catcher, Terry Kennedy, number 16, 1 for 4 for Terry on RBI. Hitting fifth at first base is Kurt Bavacqua, number 7, 0 for 3, and a walk. Number 19, Tony Gwynn, right field, batting sixth, a walk, no hits, 3 at-bats. Batting seventh, number 4, Luis Salazar, third baseman, 0 for 3, 2 errors. Also batting seventh, pinch hitter Gene Richards, number 17, 0 for 1. Batting eighth is the second baseman, Juan Bonilla, number 3. He had a hit and 3 at-bats and scored once. Batting ninth, pitcher Ed Whitson, 1 for 2. And pitcher Elias Sosa, no time up. Pinch hitter Tim Flannery, who was number 11, 0 for 1. And pitcher Gary Lucas, no time up. The Pods had 32 at-bats with 6 hits. They scored 3 times. All of them were driven in, and 2 miscues. 3 pitchers for the Padres. Right-hander Ed Whitson, who wears number 31, is the loser. He's now 5 under at 2 wins, 7 losses, 1-1 against Cincinnati. Today, 6 innings of 7 hit ball. He allowed 5 runs, all of them earned, and 2 homers issued. And both deep blasts. He walked only 1. He struck out 5 batters, including Asaski 3 times. Whitson on the season now has been in 16 games, 15 starts with a complete game against the Reds. No shutouts. But the run he gave up in that one complete game was unearned, so he probably should have a shutout, but doesn't. He has no saves. 2 wins, 7 losses, and a .469 earned run average. He is 1-3 since that ball game at Cincinnati on the 15th of June. In 88 and a third innings this season, he's allowed 93 hits and 46 earned runs. He's walked 26. That's a good average of 2.7 per 9 innings. He has struck out 47 this year. Lifetime, he's 500 against the Reds at 6-6. 1-1 this year, and of course no record last year. He was with the Indians. Did a good job with the Indians last year in 40 games. In 81 against the Reds, he was 2-0 against us. And in 1980 against Cincinnati, he was 2-2 with the Giants. In fact, when you look back at his records, this is the first time the Reds have beaten Ed Whitson since the 1980 season when he was with those Giants. He pitched against us on June 15th this year at San Diego. He had a complete game win, as I mentioned, a 5-1 final. 3 hits and 1 run, none earned in 9 innings. 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, no homers. That was his first win of the year. So in 2 games against the Reds, a complete game, a win, and a 3 ERA. 2 homers, 10 strikeouts, 3 walks, 6 runs, 5 earned in 15 innings with 10 hits given up to Cincinnati. And then number 29, right-hander Elias Sosa, veteran. 2 innings of perfect baseball, no hits or runs, no walks. He struck out 2 batters. And Sosa on the season has now been in 28 games, 2 in this series. No starts, no saves, a win, 2 losses, and a .482 ERA. 0-1 against the Reds this year. 52 and a third innings, 53 hits, 28 earned runs. He's allowed 19 walks and 39 strikeouts. A .482 ERA for Elias Sosa. Number 25, left-hander Gary Lucas, finished it out, an inning, a hit, and no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. For Lucas, this is his 40th game appearance. He's made 39 relief outings. No complete games, 11 saves to top the Padres team. He has 11 of their 28 saves. The others going to De Leon 8, Manji 5, Manafusco 4. All of Manji's have come as a Padre, starting with the ball game in early June. Was picked up by the Padres from Philadelphia for Joe LaFay on May the 22nd. Lucas is 4-6 in 59 and a third innings, has allowed 21 earned runs. An ERA came down 5 notches to 3.19. Now we'll have a look at the umpires for today's series wrap-up. Behind the plate, Dave Pallone. First base, Bob Engel. Second base, Jim Quick. Third base, Paul Runge. The game started at 4:05 p.m. Cincinnati time. That's the scheduled starting time. It was underway a couple of minutes late at 4:07 Cincinnati time. The weather was very humid and unseasonably warm in the San Diego area. High today around 90. Forecast is listed at 84 degrees for the high today. Low tonight 74 under fair skies at San Diego. A categorized summary of the bowl game of Sunday, August the 7th. Reds 5, Padres 3. Doubles by Bonilla and Brown. A triple by Rupert Jones. Home runs, Pastorius first of the year. Oster, his 9th of the season. Let's listen to those back-to-back again. 2 big home runs to account for 4. The Reds 5 runs on the day.
Here's a drive hit well to left field. If it's fair, it's gone. Home run. Frank Pastore lines one into the seats in left field. That's a drive back into deep right field. That's a home run, and it's out of here by a long, long way. Ronnie is really tied into one. Only question is whether or not it was going to be fair or foul, and it's straightened out very nicely. His 9th of the season, and the Reds now lead by 4 big ones at 5-1.
That home run hit by Pastore gave him a game-winning RBI, his first of the season. And that's the first home run hit by a Reds pitcher this season, and only the second going back through last year. And ironically, Pastore has both of them. Pastore had the only home run for a pitcher among the 82 the Reds swatted in 1982. That was a year ago this month against the Expos. So game-winning RBI Pastore, and no home runs for the Padres in this game. Double plays, Reds won, Padres won. No stolen bases, no caught stealing, no sacrifices. Wild pitch Whitson. Winner Pastore 5-10. Loser Whitson 2-7. The Reds had 5 runs, 8 hits without an error. They left 3. The Padres had 3 runs on 6 hits with 2 errors and 4 left on. Errors, Salazar had 2 of them. The time was 2 hours 24 minutes. My clocking was also 2:24. Attendance 14,476 for the wrap-up to the series. The Reds on this particular road trip had a .236 team batting average and a .394 team earned run average. They hit 9 home runs, gave up 10, and we scored 34 runs on the road trip. The Reds now have hit 75 homers on the season, have a team batting average of .240 and a team ERA of 3.98, 3.60 back through June the 9th. When we were playing these Padres, that's pretty good. 3.60 over the last couple of months in team earned run average. And the Reds now 4-4 in the month of August, and 19-18 in daytime play this season. So that's a statistics rundown for this ball game and a few seasonal stats through August the 7th. And, well, I don't want to forget this note I have on Joe Price here. Price was named National League Pitcher of the Month for July of 1983, and listen to these numbers he had. It was announced just last week he was named the NL Pitcher of the Month. Almost had a spotless month. He did lose his last game, at a 5-game winning streak, stopped his last time out. But he had a 1.98 ERA for July, 5 wins, 1 loss, and 6 starts. Only allowed 9 runs all month and 41 innings, 2 homers, 34 hits, 13 walks, and he struck out 17. He lowered his ERA from an already good 3.08 to an even more impressive 2.75. And he's now at 2.77, 2 1/3 innings, 1 earned run in that start in the doubleheader yesterday, but he left with the shoulder problems. He's only pitched once since the naming of the Pitcher of the Month award. So congratulations, Joe Price, Pitcher of the Month for July with that 5-1 record and 198 earned run average. I'll have a brief look at the scoreboard in a second. Now we'll have a look at the standings in Major League Baseball through August the 7th. In the American League East, it's Baltimore on top by 1 game over Detroit and 1.5 better than the Brewers. The Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Indians follow. In the West, it's the White Sox now with a 5-game bulge over Kansas City. The Rangers, slumping Angels, and the A's follow. The Angels are now 5 under and 6.5 back. Minnesota and Seattle, the bottom 2 teams. In the National League East, Philadelphia in first place now. They overtake the Montreal Expos. Expos 1 back. Pirates in third place, 1.5 back. Then the Cardinals, Cubs, and Mets. In the West, Atlanta 68-44, a .607 percentage, best in baseball. 5.5 games better than the Dodgers, but the Dodgers gained some ground over the weekend, taking 2 out of 3 from the top club Atlanta at Los Angeles. The Astros are in third place, 10.5 back, and then the Padres, Giants, and Reds. Everybody in action today, and there was one night game in the major leagues. That was the California Angels at Seattle, and 1 doubleheader played, and that was in the American League. I'll take a look at some of the finals now. In AL action, the White Sox beat the Orioles 4-3. Mike Flanagan takes the loss in that ball game. He returns from a lengthy injury, going 4 1/3 innings. The winner, Lamar Hoyt, his 14th victory. They had 24,384 at Baltimore. There was a home run by Greg Luzinski, his 23rd of the year. Another 4-3 final had the Rangers besting the Cleveland Indians at Cleveland, and that was the first game of a doubleheader. Second game went to the Indians under new manager Pat Corrales, a 7-0 final, so a split of that lone twin bill in the majors today. The winner in the first game, Charlie Huff, loser Dan Spillner, and there weren't any home runs in the first game. Second game home run, Chris Bando was 4th of the season. And the winning pitcher went all the way with a 7-hit blanking, Tom Brennan, his second win, 19,213 at Cleveland. The A's shut out the Twins 6-0, 8,503, saw that one at the Metrodome. A home run for Bob Kearney, his 8th of the year for the A's, as Chris Cataroli pitches a 5-hitter over 6 innings and gets his 8th win of the year, combining with Keith Atherton to blank the Twins 6-0. The Tigers over the Yankees 8-5. They had 45,110 paid at New York's Yankee Stadium. And there was a home run by Lance Parrish of the Tigers, his 17th of the year. Dan Petrie got the win in that ball game. Kansas City, behind the pitching of Gaylord Perry, with his 5th win of the year and the 28th save of Dan Quisenberry, blanks the Boston Red Sox 1-0. Pat Sheridan drove in the only run with a solo home run in the 4th, his 6th of the year. Gaylord Perry 5-12 with a win, a 2-hit shutout over 7 innings, and then Quisenberry came on for his major league leading 28th save, 32,514 at Kansas City. California beat the Mariners in that night game at the Kingdome, a 4-3 final score, and no home runs in that game. Winner was Ken Forsch, his 10th win, 8,722 at Seattle. And it was the Milwaukee Brewers with a 9-6 win over the Toronto Blue Jays. The Brewers playing very good ball since the beginning of last month. A home run for Cliff Johnson, his 18th of the year for Toronto. The winning pitcher in that game was Mike Caldwell, as the X-Red, his 9th victory. 47,312, an excellent crowd at Milwaukee. Now in some National League happenings, in 10 innings, the New York Mets scored a 6-4 victory over the Chicago Cubs. Mets have won 7 of 8 now. They sweep 3 in a row from Chicago. Walt Terrell on Saturday had a 4-1 complete game win. He hit 2 two-run homers to win his own game. His first Major League RBI is amazing. Home run for Mel Hall for the Cubs today, his 7th of the year. Winner Doug Sisk, his 5th win. Jesse Orosco got his 11th save. They had 25,748 at Chicago. And it was the Phillies over the Cardinals, 5-2. Cardinals have lost 6-7 in a row now. Home run Mike Schmidt is 24th. Winner Marty Bystrom, 46,373 at St. Louis. Atlanta over the Dodgers, 5-2. Home run Greg Brock is 14th. Winner Pascual Perez, he's 13-3. Bedrosian gets a save, 46,594 at L.A. And in a complete game 2-hit shutout for Steve Rogers, the Expos beat the Pirates 6-0. The Pirates starting to fade a little bit now in the Eastern Division. A grand slam home run in a 4-run second inning for the Pirates, hit by Montreal outfielder Tim Raines, his 7th home run of the year and his 2nd grand slam. Tim Wallach, his 14th home run of the season. Raines also stole a base, his 48th of the year, leads the league. Rogers 14-6 with the win. He leads the league in victories, the first 14-game winner in the National League. He struck out 3, walked 1, no runs, 2 hits. What a job. Larry McWilliams, the loser, he still got a good record of 11-6. They had 29,187 at Pittsburgh. And in the final game, the Astros got a run at the top of the 9th inning to best the Giants at Candlestick 2-1. Pretty good crowd of 21,599 at windswept Candlestick Park today. And a home run for Jose Cruz, his 7th of the year. Nolan Ryan went all the way and struck out 8 to get his 11th win in 16 decisions. He pitched a 3-hitter. Loser Greg Minton, 5-8. That's a quick look at all the scores in Major League Baseball. The Indianapolis Indians picked up another victory, as we see. Indianapolis is going good now. I think they've won 8 of the last 9. A 4-2 victory over Oklahoma City today. The winner was Jeff Russell, 5-5, and Keith Cato got his first save. He had 2,043 on hand at Oklahoma City. Again, the final from San Diego today. It was the Reds winning over the Padres 5-3 to split this series and go 5-6 on the road trip behind Frank Pastore's 5th victory and his first home run. 2 hours, 24 minutes. 12,919 paid at San Diego. 14,476 total. And until next time, so long for now.